Why I don't use belts in hypertrophy training. So I've had a few people message me ask me why I don't wear a lifting belt during my pulls, especially if it's going to allow me to lift more weight. And it's a good question. The answer, it comes down to intent. My goal isn't to lift as much weight as possible by any means. It's to lift as much weight as possible with the muscles I'm actually trying to develop. In this case, my spinal erectors. See, a belt acts as an external support system. It increases intra-abdominal pressure and reinforces spinal stability, which is great for lifting maximal loads and movements like squats and deadlifts when lifting like a powerlifter or strongman. But in hypertrophy, I'm not chasing numbers. I'm chasing tension. I want my spinal erectors to earn every single rep, to resist flexion under load, and to isometrically contract throughout the entire range. That's where hypertrophy happens. Now, yes, wearing a belt in this context will allow me to handle more weight overall, but it also distributes the overall total demand away from my erectors and some onto the belt, as well as increases the systemic stress tenfold because of the fact that I'm using more overall weight. That means there's less internal bracing, less muscular stress on the area I'm trying to train, and more overall stress throughout my entire body, and ultimately less direct muscle growth. So no, I'm not skipping the belt because I don't want to lift heavy. I'm doing it to intentionally increase the mechanical stress placed directly on the spinal erectors, to force my body to brace harder and to drive more meaningful stimulus for growth in that specific muscle group. And when it comes to axial loading leg movements like a hack squat or a leg slide, in the past when I wore a belt for these type of movements, it's been with loads that now that I've progressed in my training age, I know could have been more productive with a lighter load, more control eccentric, and a more emphasis on the pause. So while using a belt in the past did allow me to move more overall weight with these movements, it came at a cost. Increased joint and connective tissue stress, elevated systemic fatigue from the heavier loads, and a significant cardiovascular strain due to the belt compromising my diaphragm and abdomen. Remember, in hypertrophy training, the sets are typically longer than a powerlifter or strongman's because of the rep range and focus on the eccentric. So the compression for that length of time limited my ability to fully expand my diaphragm during the bracing phase, leaving me with shallow chest-dominant breathing, which became a limiting factor in my sets. And at the end of the day, the stimulus to my quads was nowhere near what it is now, with a more appropriate load and focusing on the real variables that matter in hypertrophy. So with that being said, I'm not really a fan of using belts in hypertrophy training at all. If I have to use one, I know that there's probably another variable that I can alter that'll produce a better hypertrophic response, as well as give me less joint and connective tissue stress, as well as less systemic fatigue. If you found this information useful, please follow for more hypertrophy related content.